sky. We'll break it down after the game with the guys. Hometown heroes with their own sports bar. The best coverage in Denver, don't go too far. Just turn on DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR, and we are live from Studio X, and we are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Man, I'm getting good at that.
Dang,
You're
look
killing
at
it.
you.
Getting so
You're
good at
killing
that.
it.
Head over to DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code DNVR when you sign up to get in on tons of great deals. And guys, maybe you guys could start going into the YouTube chat like 10 minutes before we're supposed to start, and then just count us down. Start on time.
It's true, so we don't have these delay of games.
Yes,
the
exactly.
Broncos have it on Sundays. It trickles over throughout the week.
It's it's a Broncos town.
It is.
They're late. Everyone's late.
We just take on them. So
Yes,
we're 500 pod right now.
We are, and speaking of counting down the clock, the results are in on the poll, Zach.
And I don't even know what they are, but it was worded wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, and
Get
read
ahead
it and
of
I'll
it.
explain. Read it and I'll
Okay,
explain.
so
Getting
it
ahead
was
of it.
worded by you. How do you feel about the Broncos fans counting down the play clock? Option 1, it was funny. Option 2, it was embarrassing. Option 3, it helped the team.
Yeah.
So-
Yep.
This is gonna
And by the way, it wasn't worded by me. It was worded on the pod yesterday, and I thought that I just should do that. So I actually went back and found the exact wording that we said on the pod because I wanted to be honest to this because this is what we talked about.
Okay. Way too
So-
much effort.
it was embarrassing. Won the poll.
Okay.
48%, which was the most.
I actually didn't know. I would have thought that it would have lost because of the way you said that.
Well, it did technically because you said majority of people were embarrassed, but only 48% were. The combination of it was funny and it helped the team, 52%.
Okay.
So it's pretty close, honestly. Like half of the people feel it was embarrassing, half of the people feel one or the other ways of it was funny or it helped.
I will say
we can put another poll out later. It doesn't have to be the pod poll, but another one. And I think the way it was worded yesterday in that poll makes it seem like it was embarrassing on the fans. Like you were embarrassed as a fan that other fans
Oh,
were booing.
I think that's what-
I meant it was embarrassing for the team.
Oh, it's
Like,
absolutely embarrassing for the team that they need that.
well, of course. That's my whole argument. No.
See, with the way
I
you-
was never saying it was embarrassing for like the fan next to you. You're like, I can't believe Broncos Country's doing this to me. No.
That's the way it came
embarrassing
off.
for the team.
See, this whole time I thought you were saying it's embarrassing for Broncos Country that they are doing this to their team.
No. Now we're all resolved. We're on the same page. No pod poll
are.
needed. There we go.
what a waste of a pod poll.
It's embarrassing for the players that they can't get the clock without the help of 70,000.
100%. And
Yes.
and that's essentially what Nathaniel Hackett said yesterday when he talked about it. He said, the crowd's smart. We were having our issues,
They are.
and they tried to help us.
And they did help them. Despite, I'm getting lawyers coming at me on Twitter saying, you can't prove that it helped.
Yes, you
Because
are.
correlation doesn't equal causation. I was like, yeah, I'm just using the available information.
Yeah,
And Javonte Williams literally saying it helped.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy.
And speaking of Broncos Country, got to give a couple shout outs. First, to my former neighbor, Alex, who listens to the show. She says she digs us. I didn't know she listened until after I moved. Got to give a shout out to Jane, who was at the bar, I believe after Monday Night Football. Got to talk to her right before the game. And so many other people that we met after. We went down to the bar after the post-game pod this week and met so many awesome people. People coming in from Syracuse. That was really awesome to
Yep.
meet them. And also a shout out to our super producer, Kale. This is his 3-year anniversary at DNVR.
Wow.
It's true, yeah.
How about that? And he's back today.
3-year
Love
anniversary
it.
gets to come back on the Broncos.
Yeah. We'll
pod.
see. We'll see you in 1 year, Kale.
It is kind of fitting, though, because I started at this company as a Broncos listener.
Yes.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Famously one of 4 people at the first ever BSN Open.
That's right. That's right.
Now we got like 125 at golf tournament.
Wow.
Crazy. You were there.
Oh yeah.
It's me, you, Kale, couple other guys.
Was Kale the worst one there?
Oh, by
Oh.
far.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
far. I was there to have fun and meet you guys, and
I just-
I
And land a
accomplished
job.
both of those things.
I just remember the course was very damp, and he didn't have golf shoes. He was kind of slipping and sliding around.
Oh, boy.
I did. I wore tennis shoes. That's true.
All right. Well, happy 3-year anniversary, Kale. We appreciate you very much.
Yeah. Your Russell Wilson year.
Okay. So we
Yeah,
talked.
the countdown is on for this segment.
Yes, the countdown is on.
way on.
We're up against the clock
We are.
on every segment, just like the Broncos are on every play. So where does that problem rank
Oh.
amongst the Broncos' many that they have right now? The best news is that they don't have a problem of being 0-2. But there's a lot of bad news that precedes that, which is the timeout management has been, I mean, downright atrocious.
It's a good way to put it.
The red zone offense has been.
Downright atrocious.
I was trying to look for another word, like offensive.
Well, the opposite of offensive.
Not offensive.
Yes, it's offensive. Okay, there we go.
Yes.
Yes. That'd be confusing on a pod poll.
It could be. The problems run deep right now. So I want to rank them with you guys. And I think it would be hard for us to count this down backwards, even though that would build more suspense. So we're going to count them down from number 1. Zach, what is the Denver Broncos' number 1 issue right now? If you walked into the building yesterday and you were, I don't know, Greg Penner, and you said this has to get fixed today, what is it?
Well, it's probably not what Greg Penner would be saying.
But let's just
but
say you're the boss. And
it
you get to
is
tell people what to do.
the red zone offense. Look, there's things that are more embarrassing for the organization, and I think that's what Greg Penner would kind of be looking at. But for the Broncos, it is the red zone offense, because when we talk about the Broncos' problems, we want to talk about what has the biggest impact on win and loss, and it is absolutely this. The Broncos win in Seattle if one of their 3 trips inside the 5-yard line gets in the end zone. They win. They blow out the Texans if one of their 2 trips to the red zone, or if both of those trips get into the end zone. They're the first team since 2000 to go 0 for 5 in the 5-yard to go. 5. What? How do I say it?
Inside the 5.
Yes. Inside the 5. First team since 2000 go 0 for 5.
Who is the team in 2000?
I don't know. I've thought, but it
Probably
is
the Raiders.
probably, yeah. But it is so bad, and when
were
it
good
comes to
that year.
performance on the field, that's the number 1 thing.
Great answer, and I think you're right. All the other stuff.
Did I surprise you?
You did,
Yeah,
yeah,
I thought so.
you did. All the other stuff wouldn't matter nearly as much if you just took care of this one thing. If the Broncos get in the end zone in the third quarter 2 times in Seattle, we never know that Nathaniel Hackett doesn't know what to do with 3 timeouts and 1 minute left on the clock from the 46 left hash. Just would have never come up. That drive, they probably would have been running the clock out. Well, I guess they were both ways. But if you go and you score to that, if Cortland Sutton's foot's an inch closer on the back shoulder fade, that probably sets a different tone for that game. You go ahead and win that in a comfortable fashion that doesn't have everyone panicking. So all of the other stuff won't come up nearly as much if you just punch the ball in the red zone. The Broncos are moving the ball better than anyone in the NFL right now, which is just crazy.
With some metrics.
Huh?
In some metrics.
Yes, in terms of yards per drive, they are moving the ball as well or better than everyone in the league. Expected points added, EPA. They are one of only 2 teams in the NFL in the top 10 in both offense and defense in EPA per play. So
Who's the other one?
the Bills.
There you go.
They're pretty good.
They are very good.
And now, also, take into consideration who they've played.
Totally.
To be fair.
Totally. But the point is, so far, this has been a good football team outside of the red zone. And if they get that figured out, they're going to look like a good football team. And they might look like a good football team with some other issues, like coaching issues. but at least they'll look like a good football team, which the scoreboard has not yet told you.
Exactly. And super quick, people in the comments listening live on YouTube, make sure to hit us with a thumbs up. We'd appreciate it. And also let us know what you think the number one is. We've already had some people agree with us. Roger coming in saying being in the same division as Mahomes is the number one. And Hank, now you can go ahead. Thanks.
So obviously red zone problems right up there. I had it number 2 though.
Oh.
Mostly because I think that a lot of it is bad luck. Not enough to not be concerned, obviously, but enough for it to not be number 1.
I hate
want
this.
to have that take too.
You guys
it's just
have both-
hard. It's just hard to back up.
You guys have both had now Hank, you're joining Ryan with this bad luck. Ball's gonna bounce the opposite way. I don't know, and that's a dangerous thing to count on.
Well,
But I mean,
that's what I'm gonna say.
Just to say, like the bad luck though, 2 fumbles inside the one, like that's
2
not
feet,
something.
1 inch out of bounds.
Yeah, and exactly. That's the other one. Sutton, Tomlinson, both of those so close. Like, there's a world in which they just get those toes in. They just hold on to the ball. And that doesn't excuse the red zone problems. Like, even if they get those touchdowns, you still have issues. But that's just why it's not number 1 for me, is that I do think that you are due some positive regression there. Although not enough to be good, it's enough to say, like, you can coach the rest up.
However, there's other things like Brandon Cooks, I believe, dropped a pass that would have turned into a touchdown.
100%.
Oh, totally.
There's other things for other teams too.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but that is just part of football. I mean, how many teams could be saying, man, if only he got 2 feet in, then the whole game changed? That probably has to happen. It just scares me on wanting to rely on, it's going to turn around.
It's a massive problem. The red zone is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, you're not going to fumble twice right there very often.
Yeah, and the hard thing is, like, it's difficult to argue from your side of this, Henry, because there's just no evidence that it's going to happen until it happens. And then you can point back and say, look, this week they got their toes in and they scored 30 points. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. I have a hard time believing that one time a game for all 17 games, the Broncos are going to have a touchdown that misses by this much. And that's going to be somehow their fault. Like, it should just come back. It should. We'll see. The fumbles, that is luck to me. So that should come back. If 6 weeks from now we're saying, yeah, the Broncos have recovered 3 and lost 19, I'm going to be saying, okay, maybe there's something we can point to here. But at this point, I'm still calling that luck. All right, Henry, I'll let you, since you gave your number 2, what would have been your number 1?
Penalties. The penalties are just terrible. You gotta fix that. I mean, 25 penalties, second most in the league is 17.
18,
It's
I believe,
awful.
actually.
Oh, did somebody get one last night?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Someone's at 18 now.
Nice. Okay, not so bad.
Good job.
But you just look. I mean, what they've given up a little under 450 yards of offense. They've also given up 205 penalty yards. Like, you can just look at how
That's crazy.
How crazy it is that they're just allowing teams that much extra space. We talk about margins. That is so massive. Like, you're extending drives for Geno Smith. I think, obviously, red zone, that's so easy to see. Like, oh, if these 3 things don't happen, one of those 3 things, there you go, you win. But also, if you just don't extend a couple of those drives for Geno Smith, those turn to punts. Like, there were so many drives that they have just let go on way too long.
Zach, do you have penalties as number 2?
I do, and just the staggering amount of penalties the Broncos have had is awful. It's the most that the Broncos have ever had in back-to-back games in their history.
How could it not be?
They have 25 penalties, like Henry said. Last year, the team with the most penalties had 127. Right now, the Broncos are on pace for like 210. That would almost come close to doubling the number 1 penalized team last year. Now, I don't think they're going to stay on this pace at all, but that's how bad it is. And again, I don't just want to sit back and say, well, the refs aren't going to be calling these penalties. They've had some of the refs that called the most penalties first. No, you have to fix it in order for this to happen. And the unfortunate thing is, too, you kind of see it with Garrett Bowles in the past. When you get pointed at as a holding guy or a penalty team, those officials, just human nature, are going to come into the game and say, these guys, I got to keep my eye on them a little extra close. And you're probably going to develop that, and it's going to cost you a penalty or 2 a game.
It for sure is. And if you don't think Kyle Shanahan is going up to the stripes on Sunday night saying, hey, These guys, they false start a lot. So make sure you keep an eye on that offensive line because they are twitching and flinching all over the place. And you know what? Now that that's in your head, it's just human nature to notice it more.
Yeah.
So, you know, it does matter, and it is a huge problem. Henry, the stat that you just said solidifies this as number 2 for me and really could vault it to number 1. They've given up 400 yards, and they've given up 200 yards in penalties. I mean, imagine how many plays are being run. On plays where they don't get a flag, they are giving up an incredible amount less yards than, you know, like they're getting these flags, and it's making up for half of the movement on the field.
It's crazy. And even before Kyle Shanahan says anything, you know, they get to the ref's locker room. They're like getting all dressed up for the night. One of them's going to say like,
shining their shoes.
You guys in? Like, it's going to be a busy night tonight.
Yeah.
like they all know. It's just bad. It's just bad.
Love
Again,
to be
like
a fly on the wall.
wouldn't it be nice? The red zone stuff is obviously terrible. I think just like average luck gets that up to bad. The penalties, I don't feel like they've been getting unlucky. They've just been called for that many penalties.
I don't think you can even argue against that.
Yeah.
But one is
Can't say they're getting
legitimately
unlucky penalties. The only one I would say is probably an unlucky penalty is the delay of game on the field goal, because that is I went back and looked. It was just as close as I said it was.
It was.
But when we're arguing what's 1, what's 2, one is literally taking points off the board. The other, the team has to continue to drive the
Other
ball
one's
down the
adding
field.
points to the board. But yeah, you're right. And I think that's why I
There's more
agree with
things
you.
that have to happen in order for that to be number 1, in my opinion.
So which one is more correctable?
I
Great
think red
question.
zone.
Red
I mean,
zone.
again, that was my case for making it number 2.
Yep. Zach?
I think penalties. They both are correctable though. That's the thing. I think penalties, when you look, they're happening from so many different people.
Yes.
That's why it's
And,
the harder one to fix for me.
Exactly. And it's happening because the coaching staff is doing some things incorrectly. Nathaniel Hackett's making decisions too late. Then Russell Wilson's not getting out of the huddle quick enough. And then you have Cortland Sutton false starting. You have Cortland Sutton getting an unsportsmanlike penalty. You have Jonathan Cooper. Every sort of
Every penalty.
person
Yes.
is just spread out, and it's a lot more difficult to get everyone on that same page. But you know what? And someone brought this up in the comment section. TBD said, say what you want, but Vic had a super disciplined squad. Vic wasn't really liked by the players. Like, they didn't love him. Nathaniel Hackett, they really like him so far. Nathaniel Hackett's got to draw a line somewhere when it comes to these penalties.
Yeah, and I am starting to believe that being a player's coach leads to more penalties. And, you know, we could go around the league and look at who's leading in penalties and who their coach is and see if that adds up. But I think the reason why players didn't get penalties is they didn't want Vic Fangio to hate them. And everyone was always walking on eggshells, not knowing whether or not Vic Fangio hated them or not.
Yeah.
And that causes its own problems. But one thing it also causes is, hey, I cannot screw up because I know then I'm going to be on his shit list.
I just go back to Cortland Sutton and that block where he just has little number 25, and he's first of all leading the way. Like, he's opened up a big hole, and then he just pushes him 10, 12 yards down the paint
Blindside
on the
style.
sideline. Like, just goes and goes and goes and goes. Exactly, blindside style. Where it's like, I know that as a good run-blocking receiver, and I was having a great game, you just want to body
drive.
this guy.
Yeah.
You just want to keep going and going and going. But, like, you need Nathaniel Hackett or somebody to go over there and just start screaming at him, saying, what the F are you doing? Why do you think that blah, blah, blah? You know, at some point, you just have to get that going. And that solves that one. I don't know that solves the Melvin Gordon block or hold down the field. I don't think that solves the Melvin Gordon chop block, which might just be not understanding how that rule
Well,
is
that's
enforced
coaching.
now. But exactly, that is coaching in a different way.
And that's what's so hard about penalties to me. Is I just don't think it's as simple as saying, hey, don't do that. Like,
Well, then
I think they
it's-
have told these guys. I think Cam Fleming knew his assignment on the Andrew Beck option play, which I don't know if you guys saw my thread, but I went back and watched
Yep.
it. It's very clear that Cam Fleming messed up the play. He's supposed to leave the edge there so that Andrew Beck can read it, but he just blocks the edge. He's supposed to get to the linebacker at the second level, so it's just one-on-one with that guy, and he doesn't get there, so then the edge is pushing into the play, and the linebacker comes down. I believe that Cam Fleming was taught how to execute that play. Then he didn't go do it. I believe Melvin Gordon knows the chop block rule.
Maybe. Because that changed this year. So that's the one where I could say maybe the coaches didn't say something.
Or say it enough.
Or
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Fair
the
enough.
one. Yep.
I know that Jonathan Cooper knows that he shouldn't stand over guys after he tackles them. And that's what scares me about
Then you have
this.
to have an intimidation factor
Yep.
from
Yeah.
a coaching staff of you guys can't mess around.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if Nathaniel Hackett can like use Dwayne Stukes to just go yell at guys after they get penalties, like just so someone's yelling somewhere. Like I don't think he's gonna be the yelling guy.
I mean, I think it's clear Nathaniel Hackett needs more help in just small things like that, and also with the operations that he's talking about. But one thing before we move on really quick is Green Bay, maybe some hope for this, leads the league with the fewest penalties with 5. They only have 5. That's obviously where Nathaniel Hackett came from. Baltimore, they have 6. So 2 teams have 6 or fewer penalties. The Broncos have 6 false starts.
Crazy. And 4 delay of games.
Yep. Exactly.
Now that one I think is gonna be eliminated.
Delay game, yep. Maybe not eliminated, but it's going to go way down. Like, I think that's the one that Hackett himself can just fix. It's like, he just needs to speed up getting those things in. And you have, like, whatever you have to do. You have to install the game plan. You have to go to these meetings, whatever. Your other 8 hours a day that you spend coaching, I think that a good chunk of those are going to go to just speeding up the operations and getting rid of that part.
Yep. And I think what it comes down to is Nathaniel Hackett has so many plays that he loves and so many things in his head, and he's trying to pick the perfect one for every moment, and he just needs to go.
Well, yesterday he said he gets excited.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening. He's
like,
thinking
"Oh,
of
2nd and 6. I love
Right,
2nd and 6.
Right,
Okay.
right. And then
So
not
many options.
only does he get delayed in that respect, but then he's still thinking about the play when they're running it, and then he's backed up because if they don't get the first down, he hasn't thought about 3rd and 6, or he hasn't thought about 1st and 10, or he hasn't thought about what happens if it's 4th and 3. And so he does need to correct that. Hank, why I'm not counting on it to just disappear, though, is because it's a lot easier to prepare for it than actually be in the situation, and you have 25 seconds on the clock.
I think
Yeah.
even being aware of it on the sideline, though, and knowing, like, okay.
So you don't think he's been aware of this the past 2 games, though? I just think it's like a whole different animal where he's only practiced it 2 times in a real game.
Totally. But I do think that coming out of those 2 games, like, the one big piece of self-reflecting that he probably comes away with is we need to speed that part up. And so I think that, it's like on a podcast where you notice, like, oh, I've been saying a lot, or I've been saying like a lot recently. It's like, yeah, today is the day I'm going to think, like, don't say
Now
like.
you
Damn
put
it,
it
damn
in
it,
your
damn
head,
it. Okay,
you're
it's a terrible
just
example.
spiraling out of
I wasn't
control.
thinking that today, to be clear. But that's what he's going to go in thinking. It's like, okay, we need to move quickly. So it's 1st and 10. So if that means, okay, after this play, if it's 2nd and 5, here's where I want to go.
Yep.
If it's a 1st down again, here's where I want to go. If it's 2nd and 13, here's where I want, and just starting to get that going because
But
he's going to be so hyper aware of it this
That's
week.
already how his play sheet is going to be laid out. I don't know exactly how his is, but most of them are, here's our 1st and 10 plays, here's our 2nd and 7 plays, or 2nd and short, 2nd and medium, 2nd and medium plus, etc. I really think what he needs this is coming from personal experience, is a checklist on his play sheet. Make sure you're thinking of all 4 of these things before the play happens. Get the play in. Now say, okay, if we go backwards, what's my next move? If we convert, what's my next move? Just so, like, it's as simple as just having it in front of you and being like, all right, I got to be ready for this stuff.
However, that reminds me of when coaches talk about players in a new scheme, and they say that the guys are still thinking about what to do instead of just going out and playing. Again, I'm not saying he can't learn, but that's exactly right, Ryan. I don't think there's going to be 4 delay of game penalties over these next 2 games, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's 1 or 1 per game in these next 2.
I will take the under on 1.5 over the next 2 games.
I love this. I'll take
I'm
a push.
not going to bet against it. You can't take a push, Henry.
It's 1.5.
Like a timeout
He's
that
saying
stops the delay game.
one's going to get declined, which wouldn't make any sense.
Oh, okay.
Unless it was on a punt.
Right.
And they didn't want to give him the yards.
Right.
I still really wish the one little dagger in the whole like mismanagement stuff would have been that check down to Melvin Gordon where you get to the 45, take the delay of game, and move back to the 50 to get space to punt. That would have just been the final piece of the Nate Hackett struggle bus game 2.
A lot of people in the comments, or at least a few people in the comments, saying he should turn over play calling to Outen. No way.
Definitely not.
No.
And
But
the play calling is working. He's calling good plays.
except for the red zone.
Yes.
but
You're not going to turn it over in the red zone.
I do think no, absolutely not. I do think other things need to be taken off his plate, though.
Sure, that's fine by me. Not
Yep.
play calling. That's why he's here.
Of course. Okay, we've only got to two things. Is Nathaniel Hackett's game management number 3 then?
Yep.
Yes.
As we've talked about a lot.
Yep. And that there's so much that goes into that. It's almost unfair to put it all into one.
Yep.
But I will just say that
It's not all on him, but he is the one that is responsible for it. So it does
he's the
fall
one
on him.
pressing the buttons at
Yeah.
the end, you know. And it's a lot of different things, you know. So that's why it's so hard to lump into one. But like the fact that the Broncos had 0 timeouts last week, with like 7 minutes to go in the
7:24.
fourth quarter, in a 1-score game, is terrifying.
Well, he wanted to avoid some more delay of games.
Yeah,
He didn't
I
want
know.
that number to grow.
I know, and it's crazy that's where he is, and that's why I said yesterday I don't want him reading the press clippings, because I don't want him thinking like I have to burn this time out here because we can't have another delay of game. Like I want him thinking clearly, which is like, okay, do I need this timeout or do I need that 5 yards more?
Yep.
And depending on the situation, it's different. But you know, if they got the ball back with 45 seconds left in a tie game in that game, and they had no way of stopping the clock, and they weren't able to go down and get it, and you know that game goes to overtime and they lose, it's just catastrophic.
Talk about a nightmare.
Yeah.
An absolute nightmare. And Jose with a really good comment. He says the most delay of games in a season during the Vance Joseph and Vic Fangio era was 5, an entire season. And the Broncos are at 4 now. And that's 3, 2, 1. Our segment's done.
All right.
Let me tell you about our friends over at DraftKings.
By the way, we got a delay of game on
Sportsbook.
that segment.
We absolutely
Oh, my
did.
goodness.
I mean, a big one. We're up to 5 now for ourselves. But at DraftKings Sportsbook, no delay of games. If you get in as a new member, you bet $5 on an NFL moneyline game. You get $200 in free bets in your account right away. It's 8 $25 free bets, which makes it so fun. You can get in on 8 different things.
Yep.
Maybe you do it all on one game. Maybe you spread it out over a week or a weekend. And this is just the perfect time to be in on DraftKings because of football. We don't have football tonight, but Thursday night we got a game. This weekend we get to watch Sunday morning football, Sunday afternoon football, and then of course the Broncos on Sunday night. Absolutely love it. You got 2 games yesterday, and you can get all the action over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And of course you must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And to see all of the rules and restrictions, check out our description.
There you go. Also, a shout out to Breckenridge Brewery. We're going down to the Rockies game tonight. Should be a good time. In my opinion, potentially the last summer night, the last true summer night is tonight.
I mean,
So we're
it literally is.
Yeah.
Oh,
His last day of summer.
Can't argue with that.
Well, I guess it's a great opinion then. It's going to be like 85 degrees. We're going to be hanging out on the rooftop, drinking Breck brews, all that good stuff. There's never a bad time to drink a Breck brew. That's a good thing. Summer ends, just a new Breck brew season. It's like vanilla porter and avalanche ale season all of a sudden. There's so many great things over at Breckenridge Brew. Also, the farmhouse is awesome. We're going to be hanging out at the farmhouse this Friday for our Friday afternoon club. So look out for that. Come down, hang out with us at the farmhouse. But there's always something great coming for Breck Brew, including the Hootenanny, which is coming up soon.
And if you want to drink Breckenridge beers, come on down to the bar. I kind of I know we have the tailgate going. People should go to that. But also having a chance to watch all the games on Sunday before the game.
Oh, so good.
Just incredible. Just incredible. I'm excited. I think we got the tailgate Sunday morning. I'm going to be getting a lot of hours in at the bar watching all these games. And I'm so hyped. And I guess I probably won't drink too many Breckenridge beers that day, but Saturday I definitely will because that's college and there's no responsibility Saturday night.
My
Sounds like
goal
you're
is
in
to drink
college.
the perfect amount of Breck brews so that I come down just enough right before we start the show.
There we go.
Wow.
It's a tightrope walk. We'll see what happens.
Oh boy, it sure is. But yeah, the whole bunch of cool stuff going on. Go down to the tailgate too. You can buy your tickets for this Sunday. It's gonna be a good time. 8 hours there. 6 hours there. 6 hours there. 1 to 6. 5 hours.
That's 5
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
5 hours. That's always tricky with times. But yeah,
Sounds
members
like
get a
you've had
good deal.
couple
Become a
Breck
member.
brews.
Yeah, I had a coffee.
Okay. Pretty much the opposite.
Yeah.
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 We had these like canned cocktails at the tailgate this week. They were great. On top of the great Breckenridge brews.
Yep.
All right. New segment we want to do here. Go
Let's
around
go,
the league a little
baby.
bit. Appreciate this league. You know, you got to appreciate this league. This is great. Great.
Wow. Isn't this incredible?
Graphic. Wow. That is
I
perfection.
mean, Kale killed it. We got Antonio Brown. We got Friarhead Tebow.
We got Manning face.
Yep. We got Fitzmagic. We got Butt Fumble Sanchez.
So
and we've
good.
got Sad Tommy Brady.
So let me ask you this, Henry. What made this league to you this week?
Matt Ryan sucks. I think that's the big one.
That's where he starts?
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, there's a lot of places I could go, but the one that's really stuck with me.
So watching Matt Ryan just like huck balls into the dirt makes you be like, this league,
He was
this league, man.
He was wishing they'd hit the dirt. That old man, though, he's 37. All these quarterbacks think that they can play until they're like 40 now. You can't do it. You can't do it. Just watching him out there, like he doesn't have any sort of pocket awareness. I was telling Dre before this, like we've established, deer can't see the color orange. It's like he just can't see Josh Allen. Not quarterback Josh Allen, Jaguars rusher Josh Allen. And it's like he'll just be coming right up the middle, right at him, dead straight in front of him. And he'll just be shocked when he gets knocked down. It was awful. And then he just starts chucking balls up, throws 3 picks. Oof.
That's what got you loving the NFL this
That
week.
is
It
what
did.
got him
Matt
loving
Ryan.
the NFL. What got me loving the NFL is what got everyone loving the NFL. The comebacks that we had. Oh, my goodness. You're talking Miami coming back over Baltimore. At first, you're like, well, Miami is who we thought they were. Nope. They come back. They were down 35-14 at the end of the third quarter. Came back to win in regulation. Didn't even go into overtime. Tua was incredible. You had the Jets over the Browns. A different situation. The Jets are down 30-17. Remember, over the Browns. Everyone hates the Browns here. Joe Flacco at quarterback. Mile High Joe is in there. The Browns take the 30-17 lead with 2 minutes left. Then the Jets
Regrettably take the 31-17.
They do. They could have just wound out the clock if they don't get in the end zone.
Sorry. And it was a 30-17, you said.
Yep.
And it's because they missed an extra point, too.
Yep. You throw that on top of it. Joe Flacco right out of the gate, I believe second play of that next drive, hits a 66-yard touchdown bomb. They get the onside kick.
And by the way, the Browns just watched that happen.
Yep. They weren't playing back or anything.
No.
They just let him run right by.
In baseball, late in the game, sometimes you'll just let them steal second base.
Right.
They had to make up a new stat for it because they were like, this shouldn't count as stolen bases.
Right.
So it's literally just called defensive indifference. That's what that should be. That shouldn't count as a touchdown. Defensive indifference.
And then with 15 seconds left, Joe Flacco throws another touchdown. And like you said, Ryan, the Browns missed an extra point. So all the Jets had to do was kick an extra point for that comeback. But no,
league.
we're not done because this league is the best league in sports. The Raiders are up 20-0 at halftime. I mean, they have all the chips in their hands. They're not going to gamble this thing away until the Cardinals make a comeback. They tie the game with 5 seconds left, win in overtime on a fumble return for a touchdown. Kyler Murray becomes the first quarterback ever to get a 2-point conversion, or to run in a 2-point conversion and pass a 2-point conversion, and then run in a touchdown and pass a touchdown in the same game.
Wow.
This league, how about that?
This league.
And
Also,
then-
to put a cap on that, Byron Murphy letting go of the ball as he crosses the goal line to give us extra suspense at the end of the game is just like, wow. It's perfect. This league.
Incredible. And in fact, it was that much of a this league that you guys had to stay on the watch along to watch it how it ended.
Yes. By the way, go check that video out on the YouTube when you're done watching here. RG cut together the highlights of the watch along, and maybe it's just because I was on it, but I was legitimately like belly laughing watching it, especially because Eric was just in his bag.
And then there's one more. The Falcons almost have an incredible comeback against the Rams. Do you think this number means anything to the Falcons? 28-3?
Yeah, that means a lot to them.
Yeah, it means a lot to them. They had an opportunity to not fully revenge that, but they were down 28-3 in the third. They come back 31-25. And then the Rams, to intentionally kind of run out some clock, get a safety, so it ends 31-27. But the Falcons had an opportunity to come back as well.
Well, you almost talked about every single game of the week, and you still didn't get mine, so I'm happy for that. For me, it was all about how you never know, even when you think you know in the NFL. And I don't mean to throw this person under the bus, but literally yesterday, as we're reading the comments, someone just throws in there, KOC has Kirk Cousins playing at an MVP level. Like, just when you thought that Kirk Cousins is going to be incredible in this offense, he gets absolutely eaten alive by the Eagles defense. He goes right back to primetime Kirk, the guy we all know and love. He throws 3 interceptions in that game. The entire fourth quarter, he's just playing YOLO ball on every play. And Darius Slay legitimately could have had 5 interceptions. And it was just so crazy to just be like, wow, you thought, as soon as you think, you actually don't know. We thought the Colts were going to be good. I know you mentioned this, Henry, but the Colts get shut out by the Jaguars. Like,
well, speak for yourself about thinking the Colts were good there.
Definitely, neither of you.
Henry and I are all about the Jags. You kidding me?
Neither of you had 24-0. I guarantee that.
Okay, we didn't tell
I've got
the story.
2 bets with you on the Jags, so yeah.
On the other side, you had like Mac Jones. We're writing his obituary after week 1. Yeah, he didn't look.
Speak for yourself.
He didn't look great. But he comes back and bounces back. It's all these bounce backs.
How about this? Can I throw one in?
Yep.
Alabama quarterbacks. How about that? You talked about Mac Jones.
Nope, you don't get Jalen Hurts.
Yes, absolutely.
Nope,
Jalen Hurts.
You sent him to the streets.
He won
Oklahoma quarterbacks, man. Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray.
Championship there. And then, of course, you have Tua. Let me read these stat lines on these Bama quarterbacks who, remember when these guys were coming out, everyone said, don't draft an Alabama quarterback because they can't play because that's not this league. That's college ball. No, in this league, Alabama quarterbacks can play. Tua, 469 yards,
right
6 touchdowns, 124 pass rating, 42 points. Jalen Hurts, 333 passing yards, 57 rushing, 3 total touchdowns, and Mac Jones comes away with the win. These Alabama quarterbacks, 5-1. These quarterbacks 5-1 on the season. You know the only loss? When Mac lost to Tua. So you take it out, these Alabama quarterbacks are undefeated, baby.
Yep, Jalen Hurts is an Oklahoma quarterback. But other than that, great opinion. How's A.J. McCarron doing? You can have him.
I probably retired. Yeah.
Probably.
I got one more if no one else wants to take over.
Well, I just had a couple more here. Like the Bucks, you thought they couldn't win at the Saints. They go and do that. It's just like... Okay.
Only bet I hit on Sunday was that one.
I shouldn't say you thought they couldn't, but
That was the narrative.
the
Nobody thought
patterns-
the Bucks could take
the
them.
patterns never hold up in the NFL. Like, there's never something that you could just follow blindly and be like, this pattern holds up.
Ravens preseason.
That one, it's the greatest streak in sports.
Going against streaks, though. The Detroit Lions are 1-1. The Jacksonville Jaguars, top of their division at 1-1. And the New York Giants, 2-0. And honestly, that is what makes this league great. Is we're only 2 weeks in. I'm not crowning these guys except for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But these teams, you can flip around in the NFL. And that's what's so cool about it. Every team does have a chance at the beginning of the season. I should say 90% of teams have a little bit of a chance. Because last year, those teams had the number 1 overall pick, the number 2 overall pick, and the number 5 overall pick. And they're all at least giving their fan bases hope right now.
Yep. And
Trevor Lawrence looks incredible. Trevor Lawrence looks so good. When they let him just go 5 wide, it'll just be like, oh, curl here, a little out over there, like just drags. He is carving teams up underneath. Like, he might be perfect inside of 10 yards. He still has like the issues from like 10 to 20 and all that stuff, but he is starting to look like, at the very least, like a game manager who can get you down the field every single drive.
Oh, he's looked better than that. So who's the coach that we wanted that's now...
Doug Peterson?
Yes, Doug Peterson. What I will say, their loss, it wouldn't have been any better if Doug Peterson was the Broncos coach. With his game management issues in that first game, boy, they were bad. The Jags are 2-0 if it's not for their head coach.
And they had red zone offense issues in that game as
They did.
well.
They did.
I will say this about Trevor Lawrence. Last year, in college, it always looked easy for him. Last year, it never looked easy for him. This year, it looks easy for him again, and that's a scary thought for this league.
He's just moving so quickly. Like, everything he does is just like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
He's really sharp.
Yep. What a week it was in the NFL.
Man. And you know what?
The NFL almost always just delivers.
That's what I was going to say is it's not like we're just talking about this because it's the craziest weekend ever. No, we're going to feel like this maybe after Thursday Night Football, maybe after next week as well. I hope so.
And I was thinking about it because I was at the bar on Saturday and like the first slate of games, which is like 50 games in college football. Everyone was like, yeah, there's nothing good out there. And I was like, I love college football so much. You would just never say this about the NFL.
It is so true. When I look at a college slate on a day, there's some weeks where it's like there's one top 25 matchup and the other games are all just going to be bad. And I'm not as much of a junkie to go find like two FBS schools playing and watch them if it's a good game. But the NFL, there's always a good one.
I will say college ended up kind of pulling it together and have like you had the App State game, which was crazy. Like there was some crazy stuff as always, but they get a lot more chances to have some crazy games. The NFL you just scroll through these scores and you're like, yeah, 2 out of every 3 games was awesome.
Yeah.
And even like that Jags game, the whole time everybody's thinking like, oh, you know what it is, the Jags and the Colts. Like the comeback's coming here at some point.
Right. And then you hear the clock 5, 4, 3, 2, and we almost made it. We still had to delay a game on this one, but there's no delay a game when you go to game time because actually waiting can sometimes benefit you over at game time, unlike in football. If you check out the link in our description, use that right there. Kale's pulling it up. We've also got it. If you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, it's in there as well. Click that. Find tickets to your Broncos games or any game that you're going to go to. But what's so cool about Game Time, they have flash sales, which make the tickets even cheaper. They give you discounts, and I just love their interface. Look at this. You get to see exactly what your seats are going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's pretty awesome. So awesome, in fact, that we're using it tonight.
Yeah.
Got at least 17 members of the DNVR crew heading down to Coors Field tonight. We're just staying up on the rooftop. We got our tickets in section 303. Just by chance.
I'm sure.
Okay.
No, but those are the reserved seats right in front of the rooftop, which, in my opinion, best place to sit. If you're looking to like party, if you're looking to watch baseball, there's better spots. But at least you have a reserved seat. You know, you go to the bar, you get your drink, you hang out a little bit, then you're like, I don't want to stand anymore. Go back to your reserved seat.
Yep.
And there's plenty of those available on Game Time. So use our link. Go get yourself like a $7 ticket to get into tonight's game. That's after fees. And come hang out with us on the rooftop.
I love it.
And go watch the American Raptors, too, for free. If you go to their website, AmericanRaptors.com, you can get yourself some free tickets to go watch Colorado's rugby team. They train out at Infinity Park. That's where they play. Same training center as the U.S. Olympic team. It's good stuff. You can stream their games online. You can get free tickets there. They're 5-5 last year. It's not bad for their first season. And with a bunch of people who never played rugby before, this year should be even better. So get on over to AmericanRaptors.com, get some tickets, and make sure you're following along with Colton Strickler at DNVR Raptors.
All right, we're going to have a strict play clock here on these. Let's get to as many comments as we can.
I think we're good.
There we go. First one coming in from Jersey Bronco.
We've got super chats.
A couple super chats.
Now we might be delaying the game.
Let's hit them. First one from Garth says, gentlemen, you're scaring me with your straight talk. This team might be terrible. Heading into the sportsbook to lay down on the Niners and the points.
No, you don't have to worry that much.
They're not terrible.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They're not. They have a lot of things to correct, but the encouraging thing is their season's not over. And in my opinion, it would have been over at 0-2. They're still alive, and they've shown a lot of promise, though.
Still look like 8 to 12 wins to me. I'm not willing to
8 to 12. No, Henry. Come on, that's like saying this team's gonna go either 0-16,
no, exactly,
or 17-0.
Exactly, like it's not. There's a big range, like where they're not terrible. They could be. They're either gonna be like, oh yeah, they're all right, or they're good, or somewhere in between.
The thing is they're good enough to be in a lot of games this year, where a couple things here or there are going to change the result. So, as silly as it sounds, what Henry said, it's actually true.
No. You gotta have more.
Okay,
of a stance.
what's your range?
Yeah. Well, you can't. You kind of said it as like this is what they're gonna be.
That's
if
the
you're gonna
point.
Say this is what they're gonna be. You gotta have a stance.
That's the point.
I need to see more.
Exactly, that's the point. That's why it's like 8 or 12. They're not terrible. They're gonna be somewhere in there. Like it's a big
week 16,
range.
Zach's gonna be like, all right, I've seen enough. I think they're gonna win between 10 and 11 games.
I could see him winning 7 games. The way this has gone.
Wow.
You're gonna bring
Remember
some into
these
play.
first 2 games. are the easiest games on their schedule, maybe outside the Jets, and the way the Jets looked this past Sunday, these first 2 games are the easiest. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. I think we all agreed there were going to be growing pains early on. Like, I'm not...
We all had them 2-0.
That is
we
true.
can't dispute that.
That is true.
Yep. Just got to make up for it now.
So Henry's saying they're anywhere from 1-16 to 16-1.
You always do this where you twist,
I know.
says something, and you just try to twist it more.
It's not terrible. They're not terrible is all I'm
Mr.
saying.
Orange says, I haven't lost faith yet. Keep moving forward. Let's go Broncos. Great show, DNVR. Great stuff, Mr.
There we
How
go.
could you lose faith after 2 weeks?
Well,
Like, it's
they
wild
could-
that
they
people
could
have...
go
lot of
because they
people
could
have.
go. They
That's
could have
why-
8 wins, Henry. I was just told they could have 8 wins.
Yeah,
That's how you
I
lose
know.
faith.
Yeah. By thinking it's possible they could have 8 wins.
Yeah,
Faith is gone.
You lost faith.
There's legitimately people calling for Nathaniel Hackett to be fired this week, right now.
If they go 8-9, just wait.
In that,
Wow.
there could be
you're
a
saying wait
discussion
for
there.
the response?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
Wait till then, and then you'll think everyone's calling for his job.
But there will be a lot of people. At least they'll have 17 games of evidence to go off of.
Exactly.
It's true. Yeah. No, and I agree. It's crazy to call for his job now.
All right, last one from Wyatt Johnson. Watch the end of the Dolphins game. McDanny has a coach holding his pocket, escorting him around the field, and advising him on game management.
Very Sean McVay-like.
Is that Mike McDaniel? We're calling him
Yes.
McDanny?
Yeah,
is.
McDaniel. He's one of us. You know, he's a Colorado native.
God, I love that guy so much.
Nobody's allowed to follow me around grabbing my pocket.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
If it avoids penalties, you do it. You do it.
Let's get into the comments on the website. First one here is from Jersey Bronco. Boys, you are making it very hard to listen to the podcast at home with the wife between all of you trashing the Jets. And last week, Zach said Sauce Gardner is on the Texans. Killing me, boys.
Well, I'm sorry, Jersey Bronco. I was just referring to I was trying to refer to
the rookie corner.
Yeah, to the best cornerback, which is in that draft, which is Derek Stingley. So I'm
Yikes.
sorry, they're Jersey Bronco.
Shout out 2019.
I don't know if he's recovered from just getting pummeled into the ground by Cortland Sutton for 4 quarters yet.
Yeah.
He's going to be a good cornerback. But I think that's credit to Cortland Sutton. And that also shows the corner position can be tough the first year, which shows even more how impressive Pat Surtain was last year.
Need him. As always, loving the pod, hoping to make it to the bar this year in October. To anyone thinking about going, do it. Even a disgruntled Jets fan had a great time at the tailgate and bar after a blowout last year. The Broncos may not be living up to the hype, but the vibes from the pod are great.
You never see a happy
Go
Jets
Broncos
fan.
and go DNVR.
No, you really don't.
They, never.
Well, except this past week you would have.
Really?
If you were in Cleveland with that comeback.
I guess
Yep,
there's
yep.
probably one somewhere.
We love you,
But still
Jersey
fine,
Bronco.
so-
Next one from Mile High Till I Die. My boys, it's really sad to see how many people are already out on the Broncos and Nathaniel Hackett. There's a lot to work on and learn on, but to see people calling Hackett a moron and the general disrespect is just too far.
I really agree.
I understand emotions run high after bad performances, and we all had high expectations for Russ and Hackett together, but let's all remember that good things take time to build, and we're only 2 games into bringing a brand new quarterback, scheme, and coaching staff. Let's not forget that in 2012, Peyton Manning started 1-2 with an embarrassing primetime performance as well. Now, I don't necessarily think Russ is as good as Peyton, but I sure as hell have faith in this team and have the patience to let this team figure out their early mistakes. Peace and love. Broncos Country, let's ride.
I really agree. I feel like the personal attacks on Nathaniel Hackett are a little out of hand right now.
Yeah.
Like, at least give him some time before you start calling him an idiot and a moron.
Yeah,
and
and
imbecile.
it's okay also, and I've been very hard on this team the past 48 hours. I also believe that they're going to turn it around and that things are going to get better. It's okay to not lose faith but be critical. And,
Yes.
and that's okay, but yeah, personal attacks are very not warranted.
I'm curious to see from the stands on Sunday, what people are yelling.
People are, again, one thing goes wrong, we're going to hear the clock, we're going to hear boos, and we may hear more boos than we even heard last week. And again, in my time, it's most boos I've ever heard.
How many first-time head coaches have been booed in their first ever game at home? That's got to be a pretty short list.
Yes.
So
a very, very short list.
that to me, and I'm not fully anti-boo, never boo, but that to me is actually embarrassing.
Fans thought that he cost them the game the week before, though. So that's why. It's not like one thing went wrong. To have those people's back and speak for them, it's not like they just thought, oh, well, you get you punt on on your first series, now we're going to boo. They had reason to be upset going in.
Yeah, and again, I imagine if your first day on the job you screwed up, which pretty much everyone does the first day on the job, and 70,000 people started calling you an effing idiot. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Give the guy a break. Melbourne Bronco says, my guys, yesterday Numby said maybe it's our fault because we raised expectations too high or something similar when discussing the negative comments, etc. Never apologize, boys. We love the podcast because of the love you guys have for Denver. Never, ever, ever change. Cheers.
Love you, Melbourne. We won't. Mark IT Snack says, hey, guys, I know there's a lot to criticize about this team. For me, the most egregious thing is not the play calling. It's not the game management. It's not even the lack of discipline. It's the drops. Russ's completion/attempts look terrible because of how much the receivers are just letting balls hit the ground. How is there not a line in front of the jugs machine after every practice? And how else does Zach Kazani and Clint Kubiak address this frustrating part of the game? I know it's a young team with rookie coaching, but I'm just enjoying the fact that there's hope and so much room for improvement. How many drops were there on Sunday?
2, I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say, it didn't feel like a crazy amount.
No, and then there's one more, like you could maybe say the Javonte Williams one at the pylon, but that was barely glanced off his fingertips.
Right.
The Jerry Jeudy one, well, like he got his ribs compressed.
Yeah.
He dropped that ball.
Cortland's obviously.
Yep. Cortland had that one, and then Alberto had that one. So there's 2 for sure, and then 2 more that are kind of. Here's the thing: the jugs machine doesn't fix this.
Because you're not reenacting a game situation.
The only way I can describe this is
Would
if you've
help.
ever been to an NBA shoot around, those guys literally never miss shots. It doesn't matter who it is. Like the player you view as the worst shooter on the team just drains buckets during shoot around. And then they get in the game and you tighten up just a little bit and it changes everything. Even free throws, those guys are cashing, but all of a sudden you're tired and there's pressure on you and it changes things. So you just can't, the jugs machine doesn't fix this.
The official stats had the Broncos with 2 drop passes this season, which is tied for 15th through 22nd in the NFL.
It's kind of, yeah, I mean, and that's how I feel kind of about what you guys are saying about things are going to turn around. It doesn't, it's not, the Broncos aren't the only one with drops. So I think that's a good thing to point out.
You're going to have drops. You have to be able to overcome those. And Russ, I feel like, has done a pretty darn good job of overcoming some of those. One thing that I'm noticing this season is like 3rd and 12. You never want to be there, but it is not a death sentence anymore the way it used to be.
Yeah, 14 of 31 though. Even if those 2 drops are there, 16 of 31. Hope they have Jerry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Next one from Samuel BC. He says, wow, people are so negative and mean. Give the boys a chance. The defense is playing awesome and the offense is moving the ball. They need to clean up so many things, especially the penalties. But in the words of a very strange man, RELAX, when this team gels, it's going to be very good. P.S. Is Zach auditioning for the fan? Or why so much negativity? You know what? After I left on Sunday.
A lot of movement over there.
There is a lot of movement over there. I think there's a pipeline maybe going over there too.
Oh my God.
But when I left, I felt bad for just the all the negativity. But then so many people, I mean, it felt like there was half the people feeling the way you guys felt, half the people the way feeling that I felt. I just don't want to ignore everything. And I think it's good that we have different viewpoints. So I didn't feel bad. And you guys know I'm not like Mr. Negative all the time.
No, not at all.
Giggles.
And I think you make a good point there. Like, there's people on both sides of this, and
Right.
I'm glad that we're not just talking like you guys are crazy for this or you're crazy for that. Like we're having those conversations that those people are having at the water cooler at work. One person says, "Hey, they're fine." One person says, "I don't think so."
Yep, exactly. Next one from Cosmo Kelly. I appreciate that. He says, I know it's far too early to tell, and I wish I was wrong, but my super spicy take on Russ being a little past his prime and we gave up too much for him doesn't seem so laughable now, does it?
I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't get this. Like, I really feel like there's so much revisionist history about how Russ looked in week 1.
Yeah, he was incredible. The one thing is, he is not the same athlete he once was. But if you thought that he was going to be running like Justin Fields this year, I mean, that's just not what happens with a 33-year-old quarterback. But in terms of it being a bad deal, giving up too much, no way. Like, that's you could have given up 3 more first, and I'd still be happy with it.
I just want to know, like, and I don't know the answer to this. I legitimately want to know. Are Vikings fans saying, like, Kirk Cousins is terrible now, or are they looking at both of those games and be like, great in one, terrible in the other? Like, We need more information.
Right.
Are Packers fans saying Aaron Rodgers is washed because he looked terrible in week 1, even though he went and then owned the Bears in week 2? Like,
It is the Bears, though. Come on. He's washed.
look around the Patriots fans. How do they feel about Mac Jones? Bad in week 1, better in week 2. Like, if you look around the league, there's only a couple places where they were just great both weeks. It's like the Bills and the Chiefs. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, who we already knew were the 2 best quarterbacks in the league. And no one was even arguing it. So everyone has questions, but I just don't understand. Like, Russ legitimately he was playing at an MVP level in week 1 if they just punch in the couple touchdowns.
If he gets to throw him in.
Yeah, he didn't even get that
then
chance.
you're talking 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Right. So
Hack gave him the chance the following week.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I've got people in my mentions from Seattle trying to claim receipts, and it's like he was really good in week 1, not so good in week 2. Broncos are still moving the ball at an incredible rate. Calm down.
Yeah. Calm down. It's okay. Howler Bro Surf says, I'm really glad that every single Broncos fan has always been 100% perfect at everything they ever did for the first time. Time to learn on the job is for losers, apparently. I'm sorry, but anyone who thinks this is as bad as the Fangio issues and the Shermer play calling is an idiot. We are not even close to what we've been for the last 6 years. These first 2 games have been worse from not play calling. But the other 2 things, again, I think he's going to fix it. And I think that Hackett was dealt a great hand with Russell Wilson, but also a tough hand because the expectations were super high with him. Whereas other rookie coaches, they come in and they're coaching a rookie quarterback. And then it's like, well, okay, we're going to give a big leash to all of these people. The expectations were like, should be around the playoffs for them. And so when you see these issues, it's like, what are we doing here? Well, he walked into a situation where it was going to be very tough for him.
If these Broncos played the last 6 years of Broncos teams since the Super Bowl, I think that's right. Then what do you think the record is? If there's this Sunday, for some reason everybody doesn't get tired, you just get to play straight through. What's the record?
How many games?
I think they win
one
5
against each.
Yeah, 1 against each.
Yeah, 5 of 6.
We don't know what this team is, though.
Totally.
Yet.
But if you had to
be
bet,
totally fair.
If you had to pick, if you had to say,
that's so tough. I don't know.
Okay.
We don't know who this team is. I mean, they're really talented, but remember, don't forget about the 2016. They still had a great defense.
Yeah.
And
Trevor's probably the one they lose.
That's the one most likely to lose.
Yeah.
I'd have 5 with 4 more likely than 6.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. What I just had a point. Shermer, last 6 years.
Play game management.
Damn, I completely lost it. I don't know.
If you think of it, I'll read one more comment from Kendall Hinton, Hall of Famer, says, life's had me real busy, so it's been a while since I've commented, but I listen to every pod, sometimes just a week late. So
got it. Kyle Shanahan, I believe, is still fighting to get over 500 as a coach.
Yeah.
So, it took him a little while to get it started. Now, he didn't have Russell Wilson his first year, and once he got Jimmy Garoppolo, things started trending up. They've still had some bad seasons since then, but I'd be curious to know, like, were San Francisco fans trying to run Kyle Shanahan out of town after 2 games? Because they were not good, and it really, not until that year they went to the Super Bowl was it ever good. So,
but it's because who was their quarterback at the beginning of that year?
I don't remember. I think it was Brian Hoyer.
And coaches, when they don't have a quarterback, get more leeway. Again, I'm trying to give Nathaniel Hackett some credit here and say that coaches do get a lot more leniency. Nathaniel Hackett was just put in a spot where it's win now.
Yeah, maybe a better comp would be like Matt LaFleur's first 2 games. I don't know what they were.
I'm sure they were 2-0. Because the way he started his career.
Don't the Packers always pretty much lose week 1?
Last year they did.
Yeah,
and obviously that was the narrative with Nathaniel Hackett pointed to it. It was like last year we were fine.
Yep.
We went and rolled off like 9 of their next 10 or something like that.
Yep, but I just don't think anyone was saying like, oh, Kyle Shanahan, he's got a handle on this coaching thing right away. Right.
He also didn't have the quarterback.
No, he didn't. But quarterback doesn't help you with coach game management.
No, but a quarterback gives you the ability to be a lot better and not have to be in those situations.
Fair enough. All right, I think we have time for one more.
And Kendall Hinton continues and says, so thank you guys for the stellar coverage. Second, we're living in a world of suck. It's still early, and many of these are correctable errors, but this offense and play calling is extremely similar to recent years, and it's tough to watch, and it's not getting talked about enough either. How many fake end arounds does Jerry run without getting the ball on one of them? We almost
got the
went
ball on
a
one.
whole half without a single wide receiver getting a catch against the Seahawks, just dump offs to tight ends and running backs. So many other things similar too. Obviously, there's new stuff we wouldn't have seen with Shermer, but it's scary.
Jerry did get the handoff, converted a 2nd and 1, I believe, on that play. He did a terrible job of reading where to go. But he still got the 1 yard needed.
Sutton got one this week too.
He did, and it almost popped. It was really close.
I don't like that call, though. It came right after Sutton was just running downfield. And
I said it on the watch along. I'm like, he's got to get a breather now. And now you have no receivers out there.
it's a good play, but it's the wrong timing, I think.
I think it might have actually been 4 in a row. I can't remember if it was the 4th, but I think it was your 3rd or 4th in a stretch of 4 plays to Sutton.
That's like the Buffs Laviska Chenault offense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's our only guy, so we have to give it to him on
That's
everything.
why they need Jerry. The Broncos had more people run the ball this past week than they did catch the ball. Think about that.
Wow.
That is rare.
That is crazy.
7 people ran the ball. Now, Russ was one of them because of a little, just dive to avoid a sack, but still 6 other people ran the ball.
Including Andrew Beck. And
Including
I will
Andrew
say, I love the play, and I hope they call it again.
There was a mental error there, kinds of you were talking about. That's what Nathaniel Hackett said.
And it's so clear, and if he just does it right, that thing pops. And I totally understand the idea of, because it didn't work, why didn't you just hand it to Javonte? I found, I believe, 6 instances when that play has been run around the league, and every time was in a big moment on 3rd or 4th and short. And it's just like you put that play in almost as like an automatic. You're like, when we just need 1 yard, instead of just running it and crossing our fingers and hoping, this is our play where we feel we are going to get it 9 times out of 10. And Cam Fleming just blew it.
The issue is, though, you have to know what you're dealing with. And Cam Fleming, he hasn't been in there much. He has gotten the fewest reps of any offensive lineman that the Broncos have. So if anyone was going to mess it up, it'd probably be him.
Yeah, for sure. I know. But I want to see it again. Don't be scared, Nate. Call it again.
Just wait till Billy Turner's in there, and he's been in there for a couple of weeks.
There you go. All right, I think we got to wrap there. Henry's got places to go, people to see. We've got
true.
We've got a Rockies game to get to rally to. I've got another podcast to do. So let's wrap here. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in on YouTube. Hit us with a thumbs up on your way out. Hit us with those 5-star reviews on iTunes, and we will catch you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.